Hello, and welcome back to the podcast that we still have not figured out a name for. And that's fine, because authors don't have to name things ever. Today, I am Andrew Givler, the author of Ironbound and the Deck Collection. We're joined by Michael Chatfield, who's written more books than I can count, but the 10 Realms is the one that I can think of off the top of my head. And of course, James Clark, who writes Mark of the Fool. And we're going to hang out and talk about life in the pursuit of happiness or something along those lines. And maybe when we're done, JM can come up with an actual title for this, because we do ask every guest to help us name this podcast because we're worthless. So JM, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not bad. I'm not bad at all, my friend. You know, just trying to find joy in that pursuit of happiness. Still looking for it. Still seeking it out. If you find it, tell me.
Do you think if you found it, you'd be sad? Like, what do I do now?
That's the kind of antithesis to it. You're supposed to be happy in it.
Right,
yeah, but like, I don't know. Every time you finish a book, aren't you a little sad? And then you do it again?
I mean, yeah.
Sleep deprived.
Yeah, that too.
That's almost like a Twilight Zone ending right there. You find the source of happiness, and then you're like, there was time now, or something like that.
Bro, I remember 2 months ago. I don't know if I could say this.
Oh, boy.
Sam had a book where he was like, bro, I'm going to be in here for the next, like, we were in a writing channel, and he was like, I'm going to be in here for the next 9 days, because this book, it was supposed to be due 2 months ago.
Yeah.
But we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
I got to get this done. I was like, oh, God.
Absolutely.
The end is always like, oh, yeah, I have to turn this in. Whoops.
It always sneaks up on you too, right? Because you're like, you're looking at the calendar and you're like, I got time. It's 2 months out. I'm okay. You blink, you're like, like just, where did that go? Where did that go? Time skips are for in the book, not in real life. Thank you very much.
And also, I don't know if you're more of a plotter or a pantser, but like, I find that I know I'm supposed to get to the end of the book, but the end of the book is sort of like an idea. And I don't know how many things are between me and that idea until I find them all. So estimating is like impossible. Like, how much do you think you have left? Some?
And then they're not even accounting for the times where, you screw up the book or something like that, and you're like, oh, well, that's 20,000 words that's down the drain. Oh, oops, yeah. That's fun. Ask me how I know about that. Ask me how I know.
Is 20,000 your record?
Okay. So my record is probably when I was like 13 or 14 years old, and I wrote myself into a corner 230 pages into my first novel, which put me off of writing for almost 5 years. Let me tell you.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if we're counting that, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's hefty.
Yeah.
Took super mental damage. Just like,
Yeah.
A critical blow.
Yeah. Recently, my record was 70,000 words, which also nearly put me off writing for 5 years, let me tell you. Yeah, brutal. See, fun thing about dictation. You can go really, really fast. You can go really, really fast. But you don't realize that you're driving into a ditch until you're in the ditch because you're going so fast. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you dictated yourself off into oblivion.
Oh, correct. Yes.
Got it.
It was
Yep.
quite terrible. Yep.
I'll tell you a story. It's
Yeah.
not a good one. 13 months ago, probably. Which is kind of funny because you're like, 13, I was 13, 14 years ago. No,
Yeah.
really like last year. Year before. Like 800,000.
Sorry, did you say 800,000?
Yeah.
What did you do? What did you do?
Hey.
I'll delete.
Hey, did you say 800,000?
Yeah.
That's like a series. That's like a
Yeah.
normal person series.
Yeah. Like, for reference, for somebody who doesn't write, that's not a book. That is many books. Like,
Yeah.
So, Restarting the Apocalypse had 3 different starts. So that's
my
3
God.
different books right there.
You were in your own loop. Got it.
Yeah. I
You
did
know-
like that loop. It was a bit of a death loop, and then I finally broke out of it.
Nice.
So there's like 3 different starts. There was 4 different systems. Like they just kept on like, oh, that doesn't work. How about this? Oh, that doesn't work. How about this? Oh, that works better. Oh, but this works really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're like on book 2 and you're like, oh, this is the magic system. It's not great.
Oh my God.
Oh God. Oh God. Around your third restart, did you look at the title of your series, Restarting the Apocalypse, and go,
Yeah.
like,
Am I being punked?
Made the joke. They're like, oh, so there's a couple of silent restarts before this, right? I'm like, yeah, it's re. It's like one of those like DJ tracks where it's just like restarting the apocalypse. I'm like, oh no, I'm learning from Matt now. I don't want this.
Oh yeah, you're doing the Dinnerman, dude.
Yeah,
oh
like,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, doesn't it go through like 3 or 4 drafts per chapter or something like that? Or
Sometime. Well, I think he's like the ultimate discovery writer. So he'll just be like, I like this idea. And then when he gets to the end, he'll be like, nah, I don't like it enough. And then he'll write a different fork of it and go,
wow.
I like this better. Or I don't, and he'll do it again. So, I mean, it's results based, but he always is like, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, no. It's because he will write a chapter, and until he's like 100% with that chapter, he'll just keep on rewriting it.
Sounds like a man with work ethic. I wonder what that's like. But anyway,
Yeah, like I was on a panel. Like, he was on a panel with we were all on this panel together talking about our writing technique, and I remember I think there was 4 or 5 of us, but the rest of the panel just stared at him, and then James was like, "That sounds horrible," and all of us were 100% agree. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, and Matt was like, I completely do not think that people should do this, but I'm not a person, so it doesn't matter. And it's like, fair enough.
Amazing.
He did an event here in LA, and people were asking writing advice, and so he started explaining his process, and there was this look of horror that passed through the people who aren't even authors yet, who are just thinking about writing, who were like, I don't know if I can do that. And he was like, don't do it. Don't do it.
God.
So Jam, what's your writing advice for people?
Don't kill yourself. So
Good point.
So I wrote Mark of the Fool on what I could only call a fugue state over 3 years, where I ran on nothing but hopes, dreams, and the destruction of my own psyche. And it was just I finished Mark of the Fool, right? And then my body gives out on me because I was treating myself for 3 years. Surprise, surprise. Did 10 massive ass books in that time period, so at least I got something to show. But I start getting permavertigo and muscle spasms and neurology, and I thought I thought, oh, I'm doomed. I'm gonna be in a wheelchair in a year and a half. Neurologist then sees me and he's like, oh, how have you been living? And I'm like, oh, I've been running on 4 hours of sleep, 3 cups of water, and all stress for the last 3 years. And he's like, yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. That might be kind of stupid.
David Goggins' version of writing.
Right?
No normal human should be doing this, but you did.
Yeah, I did it. Maybe it wouldn't have folded me in half if I were 10 years younger, but it totally did. So that's my writing process. Don't do that. Do not, in fact, do that.
Yeah. Having it goes. It should go without saying, but this is actually something that we do need to say to a lot of people, especially new writers, which is sleep and eat and exercise is kind of essential things. And water, it's nice.
Ooh, it's good for you. Yeah, it's good for you.
Absolutely.
Red Bull is not water, people. He says as he just drinks a gallon of coffee.
That's water. My coffee is on the way. And I will be picking it up during this podcast to stay alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that there is a common thread, which is that writing is a very individual. You have to be individually motivated to do it, right?
Yeah.
And that means that the people who succeeded at, we all share a certain level of obsessive tendencies. That's probably the kinship shared across all of us. So I think every single one of us has a story of and then I didn't go outside for a month because every day I was writing the words that I was behind on. Don't do that. But also, here's my book I'm really proud of.
Right?
This is literally every waking hour for 6 months
Yeah.
condensed into this
Pretty
book.
much,
Please
yeah.
buy it.
I'm a shell of a human.
Just feel like y'all's ever seen Total Recall? Like Quaid, like just feel like that at the end of it.
Yeah, that's actually a little too accurate.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. I don't like that, actually.
Oh my
Like,
god.
okay, so this is interesting. Have you gone through burnout, Andrew?
Yes and no. I think I'm experiencing it more on the YouTube side than the writing side. Writing's still new and fresh and exciting for me. And after doing content for like 12 years, doing something different feels nice. I think I actually experienced burnout more in the like all the other things around it, like all the logistic and administrative stuff that I used to not be annoyed at doing. I like am like, ugh, I don't want to do it anymore. Than the actual like the writing and the like content. That's fine. I still enjoy it. But all the other pieces are like, I don't want to send an email.
You're just like, publisher.
Yeah. Can someone else think about it for me? I don't want to do that part.
It's like instead of mom, it's
Yeah.
publisher.
Ethan.
Help. But okay, so I don't know. There's this interesting thing, and have you guys read On Writing with Stephen King?
No. Okay, I haven't.
Well, there's a lot of stories about blowing pops, adult pops. But there was one thing which Stephen King says, and he's like, I don't want. Essentially, it boils down to I don't want to go to therapy because even though I know that I'm not here 100%, like I'm a little messed up. I love writing so much, and I love the way that my brain works so much that I don't want to change how my brain works, because I just enjoy it so much. First of all, go get some therapy, people. Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not going to change you. It'll just make you understand yourself more.
Yes.
It's a good idea. But the thing that he was like, and this core fear was, I'm going to lose the magic of writing if I do this thing. And I think that is a huge fear that you get when you have writing burnout. Because the thing that you love and enjoy, because you have to love and enjoy it to do, 2-3 years of, hey, I'm spending 20 hours a day writing.
Yes.
Like, it can't just be discipline. There has to be a love and care for things.
Oh god.
Definitely don't spend 20 hours a day writing. Also, just real quick,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Take that, mail that message to me from 4 years ago, please.
There's also like a period, like I was reading that there's about 4 hours that you get of really active work
Yeah.
on any single subject, and you can maybe stretch it to 6 hours, but after 4 hours you're like done. So
Yep.
it's like,
Yeah.
go work 4 hours, like really, really condense that 4 hours into just writing. Don't do any other stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff, just like do that afterwards. I don't know. That's, because
Advice. Like
again, mail that special.
yeah, right? Oh man, it all depends
Did you
on
get
the
that
days.
fear
man.
though?
Oh yeah. Listen, did either of you watch a series on YouTube called Dragon Ball Z Abridged out of curiosity?
I've seen the Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
Oh man, that takes me back. Whoa. But anyway, so essentially, Team 4-Star was adapting Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and they got to the end of the Cell arc, and they were going to do Majin Buu. And then there was this huge time period where people were waiting for them, and then they basically had to come up with this YouTube video that basically said, we can't do it, we're done. We're so burnt out that we just can't do it anymore. And there was something that Scott Frick said, Kazuneko, he's like the main editor and producer of the series. They all are, but he's one of the ones that's more of the technical hand to it, from my understanding. And he said something that pretty much haunted me ever since. And he said, the most terrifying thing about burnout is that you come to hate the thing you love. And there were probably top 3 for the most chilling words I've ever heard in my life. And while I've never gotten there on any one project, or even like in any, like through school or a job or something like that, there have been times where I could see it coming, and it scared me. Because for me, my big fear is not coming to that, it's whether or not I'm ever going to come back. So, yeah.
It's a huge fear, and it's a weird one because you could push yourself so much, and then you get to, okay, you finish this project, and then you go to a new project, and you're like, here, and like you start, and you're like, you could still do it, you can still do the job.
Yes.
But sometimes you're just like, oh, the pure elemental joy isn't here as much.
Yes.
And that can be really hard. And I wonder if like people who like redo series, like it takes them a year to do a series because they're constantly rewriting it, they can get burnout on a single book because I'm like done with this.
Yeah.
Andrew, comments?
Yeah, I was thinking about the phenomenon of like, do you guys experience the thing where you go through a dip when you find something you really like, you love it, and then as you get better at it, it fades a little bit because like some of it is the magic of experiencing. Like there's a magic to writing your first book that's like, I'm writing and I'm doing the thing, and then after you've done it and you like kind of know what you're doing a little bit more, it becomes a different, less magical process and a more like scientific one in some ways, and I think that can be a thing where like people lose themselves in the science of the art they're chasing and they forget about it. I think I've been lucky with avoiding burnout. Like you, I've sort of felt like burnout's shadow, but it's never quite like fully got me. But I think that's because usually my favorite part of the process in anything I've ever done is actually the part where I see other people enjoy what I've made.
Yes.
And I actually, you get that one very rarely. Like, I like writing, but it is not my favorite thing in the whole world. I love making books. And so when I'm only having 1 or 2 books coming out a year or, whatever, you don't get like overwhelmed on that feeling the same way that you do if your favorite part is writing and you do that every single day. And then at a certain point, you're like, I'm still working towards like a thing in the future. I have like a thing to chase. And that sort of like helps me contextualize it, I think, so that I don't get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, and that's important. I think, a lot of this is our brains trying to protect us, right? If you look at it from neurological, like evolutionary psychology perspective, like we're meant to look for opportunities. And if an opportunity isn't bringing out an immediate reward, we're supposed to look something else for like an opportunity that, like, if you're going to a fruit tree every day and it stops giving fruit, you're supposed to go look for another fruit tree if you're foraging. And it's one of those things where day in, day out with writing, working, or any other task, I like what you said, where at the beginning there is that magical period of, oh my God, I'm doing this. I can do this. I never thought that was possible. Like, I remember the very first time I finished like a manuscript, and this is something that I always thought was for someone else, not for me. But then, the next time it was a little more routine, and then a little more routine after that. And then the brain's like, okay, well, the fruit tree stopped giving fruit, do something else. And you have to kind of override that. So, which can be tricky. It's
like the murky middle, right? So for other people, like, do you want to explain what the murky middle is to anyone that's coming into this?
I mean, I'm assuming that you're using it in the concept of like the middle of a book. The part like where you get like most of the time when you're writing a story, you know the beginning and you probably know the end, or you have an idea of the end. And then there is a section in the middle that is like all of the dominoes falling based on how the beginning gets, and they will fall in the direction that I need them to fall to get to the end. But I don't know what that is until we get there.
It's kind of like that Slinky bit where you're like, I know I need to get to this target, and it just keeps getting further away.
Yep.
How are you going to do this, characters?
Right.
But it's also the hardest part because you're like, it takes months to write a book. So it's like, okay, you started and you're really excited because you're like, oh man, this is going to be so cool. Like, we've got our characters back together. Let's go do this thing and let's get started. And then you start, and it's like the first 25% goes really easy. The middle 50% is like, is everyone going to like this? Like, I hope you enjoy this.
Oh my God.
And the existential dread of like everyone's gonna figure out that I'm not great at this. And then you get to the end and you're like, okay, let's just wrap this up. Let's get this done. The editor is crawling down my neck, and then there's like this period where like the last 25% is probably done as fast as the first 25%. But the first was happiness. The second is fear. And you're just like, let's get this done.
Do you guys all have, so every book I've ever written, at about the 70% mark, I'm like, this is a dumpster fire. None of this is, I have no idea what's going on. All of these pieces are just places. It's all interconnected. I am a hack, and this is finally revealing it. And then at about 80%, it's like that 70 to 80% is the longest part of the entire book. And then there's like a little click, and you're like, oh, I'm a genius.
Yes.
It was. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly like I planned it.
Yes. Like the I'm an idiot, I'm a genius cycle is just so, oh my god. like
when a loved one sees you, it's like, oh, this is the most bipolar thing going on.
Right.
Like, oh yeah.
Now we got Andy. We're just scaling.
Yes. Scaling
Hey,
up.
Hi, Andy.
What is up? What did I get myself in the middle of?
Everything good. Do you,
About the
Andy?
middle.
Yeah. Andy, we're just hijacking this. Do you have the experience when you're writing we're talking about the I'm an idiot to I'm a genius cycle?
No, because I don't think I ever get to the I'm a genius. I'm like I have super clever ideas, but I never think, oh my god, this is the greatest thing that that anybody's ever written. I'm like, I grinded real hard at this chapter. Yay me, off to do something else.
Yeah. It's hard though, because like sometimes, especially when you have that moment where you're like, oh, this doesn't work, like something here doesn't work, and like you're like, it would be really nice if I could figure out what doesn't work, because then you go and spend the next like 3 days just being like, you're writing something and you're like, no, this doesn't feel right, no, something's wrong here, and then something just clicks and you're like you may be like out walking a dog and you're like, that's what I need. I need Valkyries. And then it's just like, okay, like this somehow works. And then the entire, like, because it's absolutely out of the blue. And then you're like, oh, everything works so much better now.
Yeah. So I tend to brute force that, in that when I feel something's not working, there comes a point where I'm like, okay, this is not working, and I will go and walk, and I will just walk for like an hour or two. I think the longest I've walked is like 2 hours, and I'm just like, I'm walking until I know exactly what I'm going to. And the weirdest thing is, it's often like the last 25% of the walk that it comes, and it's all like, because I've been sort of ruminating on it the whole time, and some, there's ideas here and there, and I kind of like it, but it's kind of this building, and then I get that thing of everything falls into place, and it just works. Even if I have to like overhaul a bunch of stuff, because I've sort of done the thing that is mindless, it falls into place. So I know that anytime I don't know what to do, I'm just going to go walk and it'll come.
Okay, so the lady who runs Spanx, I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now. She has it where she jumps in her car and she just goes driving. And she's like, if I'm driving, I'm just like, it helps me figure out my ideas. And so, Andy, it sounds like for you, it's walking. Do you guys have like, where's your like idea space? Or like, is there an activity you do where you're like, oh, if I'm doing this activity, it'll help me figure stuff out? Or is it just existential doom for you at all times?
There is a low note of dread playing the whole time, but I think actually it's the shower. I think I'm a shower thought king. Like, I'll be in there and be like,
Shower helps sometimes. Driving helps with me too. Sometimes, though, I find when I brute force it, I usually have one of two scenarios. I will either get the last 25%, like you talked about, like Andy, or, and this happens way too often, I will have, like, my first idea, then I will go, nah, that's stupid. And then I will overcomplicate things over the next hour and a half, and then I'll go, no, wait, the first idea was the good one. What the hell have I been doing?
But you know what? That is the whole reason that it works, is that you've ditched everything else. You've talked yourself through all the other scenarios, and so you have no self-doubt left that was the right one. It was just, right off the bat, we are trained to doubt ourselves, right? It's sort of inherent to the creative process. And so it's like, oh, is this the best thing I could do at any moment? And if you've spent an hour and a half basically chopping all the other ideas off at the root, and all that's left is the one that was like okay at the beginning, you'll be like, well, I guess this is the best that my limited brain can come up with.
It's also like idea paralysis. If you're like, I know that all of you probably get this, where it's like, okay, I've used this idea in something else. I need to make it better. It always has to be better. And it's like, I have this with fight scenes, which is such a pain in the ass because it's like, okay, I need to make this fight scene better. Why can't it just be he stabs that guy and we're over and done with it? And I'm overthinking this very small scene. It's like, stab him, continue on with your life. It sounds very murder hobo now. I'm realizing it and saying it out loud. But it's like, the idea of like, okay, it always has to be better, always has to be improved over something can like lock you in places.
Hey, listen, I'm in this picture and I don't like it, so it's fine.
You can also so what I do is I just do different. In the sense of every enemy is different, so there is never the same thing. Like, yes, there's only so many ways to swing a sword and stab a dagger, right? We're going on book 11 of Darkblade. The hunter has murdered people very creatively, endlessly. All I can really do is just send new enemies at him that he's never faced before, and so then he has to deal with them in a different way, and then it doesn't become samey. Otherwise, yeah, it's basically just a dude with a sword hits people.
Or he gets bored and he starts getting creative. Like he starts 360 no scoping, doing speed runs. Like
in book 11, I had this thing where he's like, he's playing with the guy, and I think it's the second time in the series that I had him playing with somebody where the guy is like trying to box him. Mm-hmm. And he's obviously like way overmatching. So it's almost like leaning into the fun of that, of like, all right, I'm going to let him hit me, but I'm going to control the hit so much that it looks really spectacular because I stagger with it, but it doesn't actually hurt. Or, I'm going to twist so it like cuts a forehead so it looks, ooh, he drew blood, but really it's not doing a goddamn thing. It is kind of fun to do that.
Yeah.
You WWE'd.
100%. You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
You're like, bring on the cage.
I think the tricky thing I feel is that with progression, there is a expected like increase of power, right? So it's not just like there's another way to swing a sword. It's like, oh, somebody else has to do something different. And so every time I put him up against something, I have to like bend my magic system in a new way to create a new thing for him to overcome. And then I have to think about what they can do with their power and what they can't do, and like what's a clever way for them to do it and him to overcome. And that like adds a little bit of prep work to a fight that like might not otherwise exist. And then sometimes I'll be like, oh, this feels like the exact same power. Just I called it like, and I have to like, and that part I think is not annoying, but it is like it's legwork that you have to do.
It is the downside of progression fantasy, is that you always have to escalate things, and there's always sort of aftermathing of it. So like if you're dealing with just like a regular sword fight, it's like, all right, fine, there's a wound, whatever. But if it's a progression fantasy and your power is leveling up, then there is the consequences of that power leveling up. There's the next step. It's a lot more. Yeah, like you say, a lot more work.
Actually, I have a question for the class for that then. Do you think that progression fantasy series always have to have a natural endpoint because of that? Like, do you think that it can go on forever, like cultivation style, where, okay, we'll ascend to the next realm, we'll ascend to the next realm, we'll ascend to the next realm? Or, because like unlike an episodic series, like Conan can fight anybody forever. He never changes. But like when you're growing in power, does there always need to be an endpoint after a while? What do you think?
I think that one of the things that happened when cultivation met Western style, and especially like as it became progression fantasy, was there's a finite endpoint, because that gave a greater satisfaction to the audience. Now, as the audience grows and continues, it may go back to the other way where it's like, hey, we can have cultivation style of it's always a bigger, badder enemy that we're fighting to get to. But I think I will say personally, I think there's a tightness to a story when it is just, hey, it's in a kind of closed system. Because it creates a new tension, it creates a granularity about stuff. Because if you're always constantly evolving, if you're using the Western style with that, you have so much more background information, you have so much more characterization with it, that it becomes really problematic. Like doing a series where there's essentially 10 ascensions. It was, okay, this works, but like it's like when you start getting into like level 500 or level 1000, then you're just like, what is experience points? And you're at like 168 quadrillion, and like there's not an actual name for what the number is anymore. It's like, oh yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I think part of it depends. Like, one of the things that's really interesting about progression fantasy is it has a lot of the stories have this subset of like slice of life in them, which sort of changes the expectation. I think that when you're writing a more like traditional oriented story, the power, the interest to me is what the power is actually for. And so there makes sense to be an ascension because it's like I need to reach, or an end because I need to reach this point of power to be able to accomplish this goal, which doesn't necessarily always line up with slice of life. So I think it sort of depends the direction that you're taking your characters through the story. Versus, like in Cradle, or like Bryce O'Connor's Iron Prince, like there's this like big dramatic threat that's going on, and so there is this reason that they're looking for people who can ascend to a certain tier or even punch through like what their known tiers are. But the point is that, so I think that dictates whether or not you have a closed system because it's like what you're doing with it.
I also think that any story that has an end point in mind from the beginning takes fewer side quests and tangents, and I say that loving side quests and tangents that feed into the main goal. Like, you take me off on a side quest, and then I find out how it actually is really important to the story. I feel like, oh, this was really, really cool. We weren't expecting it, and so therefore it's more interesting. But if it's literally just side quest or tangent because the author was like, oh, this could be interesting, and it leads nowhere, it feels like a waste of your time. And if so much of the book is like that, or so much of the series is like that, you feel like your time was wasted. Not that you didn't enjoy it, but it's almost like, well, how does that factor in at all? So I think it comes down to when the author is going into the thing, if they have an end goal in mind, however many books it takes them to get there, that's fine. They need to know vaguely where the end is so they can work towards that. The journey is way more important than the destination, but a good series is going to have a destination.
Makes sense to me. Absolutely. So then that does dictate that some point there is an end to the escalation, because there would have to be in that case. It's sort of interesting when you look at it. I like what you brought up, the difference between Western and Eastern storytelling, because, with Dragon Ball, there's always going to be a bigger Frieza, like at all times. Or like One Piece, where there's always going to be another island. That power system's more of like side grades than anything, most of the time. But yeah, very rarely do you see progression in Western stories pre-anime influence. As a matter of fact, it's not many. I mean, like, there are training sequences in old fantasy, but I can't really think of a single story where that was the main focus.
It's never really been codified. Ranger's Apprentice had a little bit of that, but it was more like a skill set as opposed to a power thing. Or I think Trudy Canavan's Black Magicians thing, there was like the characters, they always learn a power over the course of the story. They come away with some magical ability, and it enables them to defeat whatever the thing is. But it's not codified, and that codification is a direct result of both the anime and also the video game culture. And that's why there were no video games in the days of Robert Jordan, so you didn't have that need to, like, the gamification of everything is a very modern thing.
Yeah, definitely so.
It's not just gamification, it's also like quantification, right? Like, because Wheel of Time is a phenomenal example of like all of the magic system is based off vibes, right?
Yes.
Randall Thor is stronger. Okay, cool. Then what? Everyone else, I guess. And when everyone looks at him, they're like, wow, he's stronger. Okay. And that's all you need to know, right? And then like a bunch of stuff is happening and like, oh, now they're using a thing and they're even stronger. And it works for the story. But like, to me, progression is gamification, but it is also sometimes just quantification, right? The tiers that the Ashraman go through in Wheel of Time are not skill. Like they don't dictate what they can or can't do. They are social constructs rather than power-oriented constructs. Versus a lot of times in progression or lit RPG or whatever, you have, okay, well, I can't do that because I haven't trained to this point yet, right? There's like a micro barrier. I can't do this thing yet until I achieve this goal. And then when I do, behold, now I can throw fireballs. Like, awesome. And that I think also was part of like, it's not necessarily, I don't always consider gamification so much as it is just like quantification.
That makes sense.
It's also like we're used to it, right? Like if you had in Wheel of Time +1 to perception, it's like what the heck is perception?
Yeah.
And it's because Dungeons and Dragons came about by people being like, hey, I want to live in these worlds. Hey, I want to grow in these worlds. How do we do that? Well, let's gamify. Where and like so in a way we're like, okay, like you have like a Wheel of Time, or like in like actually I would say if you have academy stories, which the biggest of is Harry Potter, that is probably the first like kind of progression fantasy, because you see someone start and they're not strong, and then they get to the end and they're like, yeah, I can do way better spells. So I think that's the biggest, but like it's a series of, hey, I'm getting stronger. And that's what I think with modern compared to the older version is it takes 4 books, 4 years for you to get as strong as that person, right? Yeah. Whereas we have it in a single book. I was reading someone's book, and they go from 0 to hero in literally like a book. And it's like, okay, but because we've got, hey, here's the system, how it works. Hey, here's all of the readouts and how that goes. We can condense it so much more, so it's an exciting extra thing in the story. But it means that we can go from I don't know how to use a butter knife to I am a sword master in a pretty short period of time.
Yeah.
I just want to circle back to something that you said, Michael. It seems like you're saying that J.K. Rowling is sort of the mother of modern progression fantasy. Am I hearing that right?
I'm guessing that. Like I don't know of any academy stories before that.
I am sitting here being like, wait a minute, is Harry Potter progression fantasy? And my head is breaking like ever so slightly. Because I can't quite disprove it. So
well, they get stronger, right?
They do, yeah.
They have more spells.
The only thing would be that like the power is not very quantified, right? Like it's only knowledge based rather than anything else. There's no like, Harry Potter doesn't have any sort of like essence or power attached to like how you're doing the spells, right? Like you don't like run out of an energy or something. But the argument is there that at least it like follows the formula a little bit, and that's crazy. That's insane. I'm gonna be thinking about that for like a week, by the way. That's crazy. Because especially when you think about how many progression fantasies are now academies.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is a like, oh, it has fed into it. Like that's crazy.
That's what Brian wanted to do with Quest Academy. He's like, I want to be the daddy of academies because mommy's already taken.
That is the most Brian line I've ever heard in my
Yep.
life.
Yeah, no one here doubts that he says that.
Yeah. I want to send him that clip and just see that haunt him for years.
I'm truly going to be thinking about that in the back of my mind for like a week. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's like a paradigm shift.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Hi.
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying a little bit of light jet lag,
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh boy, yeah.
But it was an insanely fun 8 days. I was telling my wife, I was like, I had I think it was like a 36-hour trip to get home because the flight was delayed in Montreal and ended up in Seattle. Like I literally spent the night in Vancouver, but I didn't have enough time to come home and get back to the airport. Because everything was so late, so it was like 36 hours, and I was like, there was so much fun going on, so many great things that I feel like there has to be just some real lows to kind of balance it out karmically. Otherwise, it would just be too great of a trip. So, but it was really fun. I got to see a ton of awesome people. I got to meet Brian in person, so we're friends now.
It's real now.
That was
okay.
that was the barrier that needed to be cracked before we could be friends, and now we're friends.
Yeah.
It was just sort of nonstop fun the whole time.
Great. Absolutely.
We pitched this podcast as we're trying to show that like we authors are friends and human beings and like to hang out. And so Andy appearing halfway through what we're doing and then us all just talking. This is the most actual like accurate and honest portrayal of what it's like to have a conversation with authors. Like if we were at a convention, this is exactly what would have happened. So I kind of love that this episode has just gone completely off the rails and I'm here for it. because
I
it's true to
didn't know
life.
there were rails to begin with. I was pitched
Ah,
no
yeah.
rails.
Well, I mean, it's me and Chatfield, so the rails are more like guidelines anyway.
Yeah.
But
They're very soft guidelines.
yeah.
These are lead rails, not iron or steel.
Much like my outline, it's sort of an idea. And then
There's those vibes again that we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, it's so weird. For the first time, I'm having to like write an outline that I think, oh, I should actually stick to this thing, because I'm trying to, send the book to agents, and so I'm like, oh, I need to have give them an idea what this is going to be about, which means I have to figure out what it's going to be about, and obviously it's going to change as I sit down and write it, but I have to think like, okay, can I actually make this outline good enough that I stick to it mostly? I won't, inevitably, but I've never had to outline a book before for anybody. It's always just been like, well, here's kind of what I want to do. Here's the general strokes. I'm just going to go through and write it. And then it changes drastically, but it's just
Of
for me, so
course.
who cares?
Isn't it? I don't know why we've come to this fella so much. But Jim Butcher, I think he's been doing Dresden Files off of an outline he wrote, like,
in college.
yeah.
Bruh, no
And
way.
the most recent book is the only time he's deviated, and it's because he added a book.
Oh, okay.
The story goes, so, he's like the master of scene and sequel. And he was at college under the like woman who invented it or like codified it.
Yeah, there's, Deborah Chester, and then there's another fella that taught her. Yeah.
Yeah. But so
What
he's
is
like
scene and sequel?
scene and sequel is essentially that his like pacing format is action consequence, action consequence, action consequence. And so it gives like a really steady flow. Like something happens and we have the action to it, and then we have the payoff for good or bad for what that happens. Repeat that over and over. You have a book.
Okay.
If you've ever read Ironbound, you may see something similar in these texts.
Hey, man. Yes. Jim Butcher used to have a live journal, actually, where he had written basically everything he knew about writing in a bunch of blog posts. And I devoured it when I was in college. So he for sure was like a very informative guy for me in terms of just how he talked about writing. But the story is, I think he was in college and it was a novel writing class, and he and his professor having some sort of tiff where either he was like, this won't work, or she was like, it won't work. And to prove it, he wrote Stormfront using like her format. And she was like, I'm pretty sure you have a book here. And then she was like, well, you need to outline it. And he misunderstood and thought she meant outline the series, and she meant outline the book. And so he came back with a like chunky, like, here you go. And she was like, no, just the book, man. And supposedly he's been more or less working off of that. Like, I mean, there's probably been like minor changes, but like in terms of the books that have been outlined since '99.
You talk about your crossroads in life, and that's just like instructions unclear, changed fantasy forever in like a few evenings. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, and from then he went on to write a let's see, what is it, 16 books and counting or something series
Oh my
that are, like,
God.
and has like 5 or 6 to go.
Yeah.
That many. Wow.
It's supposed to be 20. It's like 21 or 23. I forget.
That's insane.
That
Yeah.
is nuts. Yeah.
And what's really interesting too is it's also changing, I think, how they're going to start doing adaptations, because they're talking about doing a TV series that's about like one of the war arcs in the middle. So not doing all the books, but just picking like those 4 and being like, cool, here you go. We're doing this arc. Buckle up. And if that works, some of these like bigger, longer series might get really interesting things where they're like, cool, we feel like we can insert you into the story here and give you this part and not have to figure out how to adapt 15 books or, whatever, which is a pretty interesting trend.
That is
Yeah.
going to be cool to see how that affects things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it may be interesting, especially with like the way of the changes of mediums as we see it, right? Like we've got comic books that are exploding, like comic book manhwa style as well. Then
Yes.
we've got video is exploding in different ways. Like look at the Mighty Nine or Vox Machina
Yeah.
on Prime, right? Or Cradle, right? Where there's an IP that's so loved that the person or people that create it are going out to the fans and be like, yo, do you want me to adapt this into something? Right? Because like we've all had fans that are like, man, I would love this in X or Y or
Yes.
Z format. And like now that we can, like a lot of barriers are being broken and a lot of things are shifting right now. It's like, oh, this is going to be very possible and like really freaking cool. Like yeah, like the fact that Cradle has a movie is kind of nuts and super cool. And I love the art style because it looks very Avatar.
Yeah.
Well, and haven't they done like $3 or $4 million Kickstarters for Cradle at this point? Obviously, like some of it's selling the series in chunks because I have like the leather bounds, and each of those is like 3 books, and it's like broken $1 million each time. And then the animatic also I think broke $1 million. Like the granted, sure, that's not enough to make a movie, but like the amount of like people willing to be like, yes, I want to be a part of like bringing this story up a notch and quality and like what it can deliver. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we're.
yeah,
go ahead, please.
Well, Critical Role and Vox Machina, I think they were like aiming to raise like, I don't know, a couple million dollars, like, but they raised like $11 million because people were like, I want to have this so much, and then go for it. But like the sheer fact of like, no one knew if Cradle could be turned into a movie series, and it's like, hey, we will fund it, and then Will and his team, it's like, yeah, we will take on this massive project to go and see it done. Sorry, Jam.
No, I was going to say, I think we are entering sort of a golden age when it comes to independent content, like the Critical Role adaptations, you're seeing a lot of these YouTube animation series, like The Amazing Digital Circus and a few other ones that are like getting absolutely immense, all without like going through traditional channels for adaptation, animation, or anything like that. So I think we're going to start seeing very atypical versions of just bringing one form of media to the other as time goes on and as trust builds, because we still, in some ways, like a lot of like the crowdfunding still has to overcome some of like those early days of people kind of not making good or making bad product or something like that. But I think we all have examples in our heads that we won't mention here. But yeah.
Well, also Markiplier having such a film success is another big thing. I was talking, I live in LA, and I was talking to a guy who's in the film and TV industry. And he was like, "Oh no, that's like broken a lot of brains. Like everybody is suddenly like, oh, well, all these like influencers and creators and people who've been in these positions are going to start retiring in like the next 5 to 10 years from doing their like grind, and they're going to want to do other creative projects. And all of a sudden the door is open where people are like, oh, Markiplier did what?" There's also things like you said, like Amazing Digital Circus. I've heard that there's another creator who's had a show he's been pitching for years to Nickelodeon that is possibly going to get greenlit, but what they actually want to do is premiere it on YouTube to try to like copy the Amazing Digital Circus like run through like organic grassroots of like, you have a following, let's put it like where your followers are, and then we'll punch it up into platforms and things like that. So there seems to be a ton of rumbling of like, oh, we should try new things, which is great. People like us who are also trying new things.
Absolutely.
I was actually put onto this. There's the Odyssey. There's an Odyssey, but it's an audio version of it, right? And it's done by a bunch of singers and artists on YouTube. And so each of them has like a different character and a different role. And it's just incredible. Like I'm getting goosebumps because like hearing all of that, they just did, it was just such a beautiful like kind of rendition of, hey, we're going to take something that we all really enjoy, we're going to put music to it, then they animated it, and it's over on YouTube right now, and it is just it's one of the best adaptations of Odyssey that I've ever seen. Wow. And then I see like Christopher Nolan is doing the Odyssey too, and I'm like you've got some competition. Like normally if it's Christopher Nolan doing something, I'm like, oh, no competition. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be as good as essentially like a musical version of the Odyssey, which is just awesome.
To be fair, it was a musical first.
Yeah.
So they have, the Homer sang it originally. So that is sort of.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. We have it written down, but I believe it was originally spoken. Like it was passed down like that. So people would sort of like chant it and sing it.
Oh, cool.
Slam poetry.
Yeah, basically.
That's a long slam poem. I've seen the Odyssey. We're gonna be here for a few days.
Well, and that's why it's episodic, right? Because it was done of like over
Cowards.
a week or over a couple of months. You'd like go through it. And they're like, yeah.
He had to maintain his Patreon subs, you know? It's not just...
Yeah, come on back tomorrow, right? Bring those coppers with you.
Actually, that's a horrifying thought that, like, humanity has not changed at all. That, like, Homer was like, yeah, no, I got to tell you the story over, like, 4 nights, so you feed me every night. You want me to come back tomorrow? Sure. Wait till you get to this cliffhanger.
I swear to God, if they ever invent a time machine and I go back and I hear Homer say, just slam that like and subscribe button, I'm done. I am done.
There's a little speech at the end. If you enjoy it, please tell your friends. Tell them to come by, you know.
It's just him with the bell, you know, because he's like, hey, people. Ding, 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 ding.
There's a little interlude in the chapter breaks where he's like, by the way, have you guys had Jim's Chicken? It stalls right over there. They're actually tonight's sponsor. If everybody pays the copper, there's no ads. Like
You just go back and you see like a building that says "Ye Old Rage Shadow Legends" on the side.
Time is a flat circle, right? Like there is nothing new. Unfortunately, as we're joking about this, I'm like, I actually believe this. That like, there is
100%.
right, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the word Patreon comes from the idea of artists having patrons, right? So like, yes, this is the thing. But
Yep. Absolutely.
before we get into our next chapter, let me tell you about Tim's Ale House. Oh my god.
Jim's a great guy. I've been drinking there for the last 3 days.
Yep.
His grapes are the best. Try the mead. Oh my god.
You have to actually convince them that you actually go to Jim's like ale house and not. Is this a sponsorship? No, I actually do it. I swear.
Yeah, we don't disclose back then.
He's not paying me 3 denarii for this at all.
It feels like a Key and Peele skit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're right.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it absolutely feel like a Key and Peele skit? And you see like Jordan Peele doing it, and then they're cutting to Key in the crowd, being like, "Excuse me, is this sponsored?" No.
Yes. Oh my God.
It's
Now
like
I'm mad I
Homer
haven't
and
seen
Dave.
it. Yes.
Dave is he's the advertising guy in the middle.
Yep.
He's got a tapestry. He's like, oh yeah, floop, floop.
Yep.
But it's true, like, because it is an interesting part of, okay, if you write a story, that you also need to survive off of that story, which is like the interesting other side, I guess, of our business is like, hey, we write these stories that we really enjoy, and we're storytellers, but like a storyteller is, I write something, but there's a good and a bad storyteller. A good storyteller gets a lot of people who are really interested in that story.
Yeah.
Bad storyteller says a bunch of stuff, and then people are like, "Yeah, I'm not interested in that." Right? And so it's like our access has become, instead of it being a town square like Homer, and his like and subscribe, is we're now like, oh, we can reach across the world, right?
Yeah.
Like 3 of us are in Canada, and we sell the majority of our books outside of the countries that we live in, which is kind of awesome and cool. But I'm not going to go to my neighbor and be like, yo, want to support me being your neighbor? Here, buy my book.
Want to support me being your neighbor?
Want to support me? No!
Are you enjoying the experience of having me as your neighbor?
Where's my weed whacker? Like, that's the response.
For $4.99 a month, I can continue to be your neighbor.
Yeah. Oh man.
Please pay my heating bill.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the whole like bar tavern thing, because I remember a piece of writing advice I used to give to some people like 3-4 years ago was they were asking like, okay, what details should I include? And I literally said, imagine you were telling this story in a bar. Are people like, if you hit this point in the story, is this where people start glazing over and like really start paying attention to their beers? If that's the point, cut it out of the story. That's which has helped me a lot when designing like my outlines and stuff like that. But yeah, because I think like no matter there's some differences, but no matter what the format is, who it's for, there's going to be some aspect of storytelling that are just storytelling. You know?
Yeah,
You've got to
I really like
synthesize
that.
it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I have like a physical aversion to having a paragraph be only speech, right? Like if I have a a section where it's like the block gets this big and it's just one person talking, I'm like, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody talks like that in real life. Nobody has a conversation where they don't get interrupted or move or something. And that's like my like North Star of like, oh, nope, this is one person monologuing. We can't do that.
I mean, you just did it, so you just...
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for some of you to interrupt me, but nobody did.
I've had conversations with people where I am silent for like 45 minutes in a row other than oh yeah, I totally know that. So those things do exist.
Oh, God, yeah. Like...
Right, but everybody wants to be out of that conversation. On your third, that's crazy. You're like, please, just let me go home, right? Like,
now I want to write a conversation like that. Just have like the other person just say, "Oh wow, that's crazy," and just have like the tags clearly show them getting more and more bored, like they're getting their coat. That's crazy. He said, getting his coat on and like putting
taking
on
like a
his
step
shoes.
back.
Yes.
Just describing a scenario where somebody is trapped against their will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, as I was saying that, I was like, please, somebody interrupt. Like, someone you say something.
I was like intentionally silent to let you go on as long as you wanted to, so that I could pull that. So it worked out pretty nicely.
Well, it is getting me to shut up that is the trick, Andy, as you know. So, yeah.
But some people just start as talky. Like, I just don't talk as much as most people. So I'm great at listening, and that's why people end up having, 45-minute, fairly one-sided conversations with me, and I'm okay with it. As long as they're interesting. If they're boring, yes, I'm putting on my coat and slinking out.
Oh, man. So now I'm going to, like, listen to you whenever I'm in a conversation with you, Andy. And, like, around the third, that's crazy that comes out of your mouth. I know what's up.
I've been beside Andrew when he's done that's crazy, and it's like the third one, and he's just like, that's crazy, and he's not even making eye contact with the person. He was making eye contact with me, and I just went, and then turned away.
Yeah, I was looking at Michael for help. I was trapped. Michael had brought me here. We were in a conversation, and Philip C. Quaintrell came up and started talking just to Michael. They were on the other side. So suddenly I'm alone. Was stuck in this conversation, and I'm like, yeah, that's crazy, isn't it, Mike? And Michael's like, yeah, anyway. And I was like, Michael!
Like, help, get me out of this. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of the Instagram one. What? Yeah, and we're like, oh, yeah, we're gonna exit this conversation. Someone was like, I don't care what everyone thinks of me on social media, so I'm gonna go post about this. And Andrew and I were like, we're gonna sidestep this conversation right now.
Oh yeah. It was like a old guy who was like, I don't care what people say on social media. I just like to say scandalous things. Then he started explaining some of the posts he was about to make, and Michael and I were like, we're gonna not be in this photo.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, oh.
And it's like the conversation behind us, and we're like, yeah, like we're just like, even our faces in this is just not gonna be a good call.
Yeah.
Going rogue.
Yeah.
And then it was he couldn't open his phone, so we were saved by technology.
Yeah. Which, par for the course, honestly.
Oh my God.
What events are you going to this year, Jam?
I'm going to Lit RPG Con for sure. A lot of the other ones, I'm also doing a bunch of book signings around the Toronto area.
Okay.
Might be doing Anime North. That's still in the works. So we're looking at that right now. But that's sort of what's on the docket. But I like to keep things open. But also, I have to write books, unfortunately. So,
what?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. What a terrible crime. But yeah.
And Mark of the Fool is done writing, right? It's just audio? Or didn't the most recent audio just come out, or was that the last one?
Like 3 days ago, as a matter of fact.
Okay,
so
yeah.
That's number 10, so that one's all done on audio. The webtoon, however, is going to start on April 1st, so...
Oh, jeez, okay.
Yep. Cool. May Mark of the Fool rest in peace, long live Mark of the Fool. That's basically it. They're like...
Born too soon to read Mark of the Fool, born just in time to read Mark of the Fool.
Both necromancers are out there like, new IP.
You're right.
But it is, again, like talking about different forms, it's awesome because the story is a little different in every different form.
Yes.
Because it's just consumed in a different way.
Oh, man, I bet the webtoon will probably be really fun because a lot of that stuff is really visual.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see.
I'm pretty excited about it. I'm biased, but I am pretty excited about it. Ain't gonna lie.
Hey, it's good you're excited even if you're biased, because sometimes, you see something, people touch your IP and you're like, yeah, they're paying me. That is true.
Yep. And then you're doing interviews, you're like, yes, that is an adaptation that exists. I can confirm that.
For legal reasons.
Embodiment of pain.
Yes.
Like,
You're just screaming through your smile like, oh, like the entire interview. Oh my god.
you're doing RuneSeeker and you're doing I Am Become Death, right? As well.
Yes. So RuneSeeker is actually, we finished off RuneSeeker a little bit ago. It's about to finish on Royal Road. Gonna finish on Amazon in like June or July. So I'm cooking Oath, Blood, and Coin and I Am Become Death in tandem right now, because remember when I said don't kill yourself? I did not listen to my own advice, so there we go. Still grinding away. So trying to take better care of myself, but yeah. Nope, those are what I'm working on. What about you, Michael? Are you still cooking, restarting the apocalypse?
It's like it's a working condition. Like we're going through it as much as possible.
Yeah, we had this big buddy session, Andy, right before you got here, where we were like, take care of, if you're interested in getting into writing, you gotta pace yourself, you gotta take care of yourself, and then of course none of us followed this advice,
right.
but but you should do it.
Andy's the most adjusted of us, because knowing Andy, he's wearing that shirt because he's like, after this, I need to go do physical activity.
Yes.
And I put on this shirt because it means that there's one less barrier for me to do physical activity and be a freaking, normal human being. Whereas we have Andrew over here who's like, does not know how a calendar works.
It wasn't on my calendar. Whatever, it's fine.
God, listen.
But he
go
also
ahead.
needed a coffee before he got on here, and then he was like, that was our minor disruption with Andrew, was he had to run like a gremlin to go get his coffee because he needed the power of life to succeed in this day. And yeah,
This is all true.
Listen. If you ever interview Nikolai Ganella, he writes Unbound.
I love Nikolai.
I do too, but he's the most terrifying man I have ever met in my life. This man produces more than I do, has a family, work-life balance, sleeps, drinks water, exercises, has a social life. Like, he's an adult. He is like the boomer version of an adult, but real. I cannot, how is he a writer? He is too well-adjusted to be a creative. It's impossible.
And he just smiles and nods and is like, yeah, I've written like 1 million words today. And you're like, what? How?
dude, Sean Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
Wilson.
Sean Wilson's a machine, dude.
I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, yesterday I accidentally sat down and I started a new series. I was like, oh, cool. And he's like, yeah, I got 75,000 words done. And I was like,
Jesus.
how long? And he's like, oh, I think I was sitting there for 12 hours, and he had just zoned out and just he can just zone into something so hard. I don't know if it was 75 or 25. My brain does this funny thing. Where
Either way.
Please say it's 25, because then
Yeah,
I would feel
give
like
us hope.
way
Give us
less
hope.
inferior. Just saying somebody hammered out 75,000 words in 12 hours is insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember he told this story of where he was going to pick up his kids. He had 15 minutes where he had to wait for them to come out of school when he's with the other parents. So he just pulls out, I don't know if it's his phone or his laptop, but in that 15 minutes he just does 1,000 words. And I'm like, oh, yourself. Seriously. I hate you. I literally hate you now.
Well, and his whole story is he was working a job. He had a bunch of kids. He was trying to figure out how to support his kids better, take better care of his family. And he's like, I think I'm going to make writing work. I think I can do it. And it's everything that you shouldn't do, right? Right? From a creative standpoint of we all got into this business and we all know it's a hard business to make it in. And it's don't kill yourself cutting your way in because it's a hard business to make. It takes time. And he was like, what if I locked myself in a room and I wrote a book and I wrote a whole series? And it's and then in 6 months I wrote 1 million words. And I'm like, what? And then he's like, and people like them.
We gotta be remember Space Jam where they steal the guy's talents? That's what we gotta do. We gotta get that going on.
We gotta get him, dude.
Yes.
Make a little circle. We got some work to do.
Yes, exactly. And you light the candles. Yep.
Bring that spear. We're gonna need it.
Yep.
I think Jazz has it where I think the most amount of words he wrote in a day was 21,000 words, but he uses 2 fingers to do it.
That is
Yeah.
insane.
The
Oh
look
my
of horror on both of your faces was the look of horror that I saw Andrew have.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
I knew this, and he was like, "How?" And
I
he was
don't
just
I
like,
don't understand. Like,
It's like one of
I
those
don't-
anime flurries, but on the keyboard.
yeah,
Like,
there's like a big burst of like smoke and dust. It's just-
yes.
That's insane. I've
Two
done like I
fingers
think
that
I've done
could.
like 14,000 words in a day, and that's just like that's a lot. But
Yeah.
21 and with 2 fingers, that
What?
that makes no sense.
The carpal
I think I've
tunnel
done-
in that man
yeah.
must have leveled up that day.
I think I've done like 10. But I noticed that like at about 5 is where they start to become bad words. Right? Where I can do 5,000 and be pretty happy with them, and then after that it's like, that's not a sentence anyone's ever said before. Like, that's like where my brain gives up.
Yeah.
But jeez. I mean, my favorite is one of the first people I met was Seth Ring, and now I get an email every month from Amazon that's like, new from Seth Ring. I'm like,
Oh
Seth,
my God.
leave me alone, dude.
He's like, I will harass you with my Alexa voice.
Everywhere I go, I see his face, dude.
Taunting
It's-
you.
it-
Taunting
It's that
you.
perfect on-brand smile.
Yeah.
Yep. Man.
So, Andy, what are you doing? Because you're doing a bunch of adaptations too.
So I am doing the novelization of a comic book. That's the only adaptation that I'm doing. Everything else is just like novels. I started a progression fantasy on my phone. I was like, yeah, the bus ride back to London from Bristol is definitely the best time to start a new book on my phone. But I did, and I don't hate it. I got to write a really great line that would never exist outside of progression fantasy and sort of the ridiculous stuff. So it makes me very happy. But that's sort of a Steve Bollier, he calls it his poop books. Just like takes his phone into the bathroom and writes, words as he's using the bathroom, and that's how he writes some of these books in addition to the other books that he's working on, like on his computer. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll try that.
Maybe my most millennial tendency is that I don't want to write a book on my phone.
I don't either, but I'm like,
I don't-
let's see
Thank
what
you.
happens.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The younger generations make fun of us because we don't like to make big purchases on our phone. Do you guys all have that?
No.
Where there's like
Yeah,
there's
of
like a
course.
certain dollar threshold where you're like, nah, I'm gonna do that on my computer. Like I don't wanna
I want to see the details.
Yeah. And that's like a thing that's been clocked as like a millennial tendency is like
Really?
Yeah. They're like, we as a generation, it's like once it's like a couple $100, we're like, do it on the computer. And they're like, all right, boomers. Like that's our like old move. And I am 100% guilty, right? I don't want to book my flights on my phone. I don't want to book like a hotel on my phone. I want to do that on a computer. And then also, I don't want to write a book on my phone. These are the two things I don't want to use my phone for.
I have never wanted to write a book on my phone, but I was like, I just finished reading a book. I don't want to pull out my computer. I've got, 30 minutes until the bus comes. All right, let's see what happens. And I started writing, and I don't totally hate it. I haven't finished chapter 1 yet because I, haven't had much time. But it's just like, if it engages my brain differently than typing on the computer, maybe the book that I write comes out different enough, and considering that it's progression fantasy or lit RPG, which is I want it to be different than the way that my fantasy brain works, maybe doing it on my phone will make it different. I don't know.
Possible.
I have a story that I think none of you are gonna like. Luke Chimilenko.
Oh no.
I
when
love
he
Luke.
had I think it was his first kiddo. There's a time period where you don't understand what's going to happen when you have a young, small baby child, and that it just entirely sucks up all of your time. But Luke had a deadline, and Luke had to hold his daughter every time, all the time. It was just she had to be held to go to sleep, and she did not like sleeping. And when she was not sleeping, she was yelling. And what he did was he had to swipe text an entire book with his one hand. And at the period of time that he was doing this, I don't know if he still has it, but he had the worst, just carpal tunnel in one thumb.
Yeah.
Because he was just But he
Jeez.
wrote, I think it was 170,000 word book.
That's
Is
insane.
not.
Hey, I hate this story.
Andrew, can we kick
Or-
Michael? Can we just kick him?
I really, unfortunately, he controls the room, but I want to. That is nightmare. Listen, nothing but props to Luke. Like, right, like as a fellow obsessive who wants to write, like I too would find a way to write, but like, my God.
Wow. Just wow. You know, I like how we started this off with, this is what we're like normally. Let's go for a pursuit of happiness. And now we're all depressed and feeling inadequate.
I told you we weren't going to find it.
This is the full writer experience right there. You go through some real mood swings over the course of an hour or something, you know, from I am the greatest writer in the world to what have I done with my life, or the other way around, a bunch of times in a very short period of time.
That's it.
You know what's funny?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, that's it. The genius to idiot cycle. That's what we
Yep,
talked
there it
about.
is.
There we go.
When Andy came in, we were like, "Hey, Andy, do you ever feel like a genius?"
And Andy was like, no.
Do you ever feel like you should maybe amputate your limb because it just is you're trying to use it the wrong way?
I was going to say, I think that most indie authors, maybe this is a generalization, but we'll go with it, like, don't experience envy over people's sales or success. But I think we all feel envy over the people who can produce a book smoothly and quickly.
Yes.
Right? Because honestly, deep down, the thing that I care about is I have so many stories I want to tell, and it takes time.
Yes.
And I would love to get books done well faster. And that is like when somebody's like, oh, yeah, I decided to do a new series. And you're like, what? I don't care how it sells. I don't care. I care that you just produced a book.
Right.
Like how?
The one that always gets me, and I get this. I don't get this a lot, but I get it enough that I'm aware of it, and I like it and hate it. Is when I read a book and I'm like, I could never have written this. Does it ever happen to you that you read a book?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, because so like if you take, let's say, the Will of the Many. And you look at The Will of the Many, I could conceivably write The Will of the Many. The Way of Kings, not the scope is too epic, but like I could conceivably write The Way of Kings. But then, so like the one that sort of just hit me the other day or recently was Cello's Gate, right? I could never conceive of Cello's Gate as.
Oh, you mean third person present?
No. Just the characters, just all the stuff that was done in the world. I could never have done that. Or Empire of the Vampire. I could not have conceived of that kind of thing. So when I read that, I'm like, okay, that's what I want. I want to be an author who can do something so cool that I could never have come up with it myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like it's usually a clashing of ideas and it's such a polished product. Like if you have like those two things of like and it just catches you off and you're like, damn, that's a good story.
Yeah. And
then sometimes you have this bad part where you're like, when you read a really good story and you didn't have to suspend your disbelief, because I think there's a lot of times I have to suspend disbelief to enjoy books now. And like I love books. I nothing I like doing more than reading books. Probably to the detriment of the rest of my life. But if with it, you're just like, oh, this is so good. It actually ruins some other things. Like there's actually I'll use an anime series. Code Geass, yeah. Is how the hell did you know that?
I might be a bit of a weeb. Maybe just a little bit.
I was clocking during this conversation. I was like, I think JM knows the dark lore. He knows he was there when it was written.
Yes, absolutely.
But like that was like that anime. I watched it and I got to the end of it and I was like, I literally was sitting afterwards just being like, I can't watch anything right now. That was so, it hits such a thing. Yeah. And it was so good that I was like, I have to like chill for a minute. I can't. I had to like. I didn't watch anime. I think for like 6 months because I needed to like reestablish new baseline because the baseline had become so high. I was like, yeah. So, but I think also sometimes it's really hard with other books of like going, this was so cool, and one, it challenges you in new ways of like, what are things I want to take away from this? And also sometimes like, I don't know, I've got this where I'm like, that is something I'd love to do, but I can't do it. So I shouldn't actually like put too much into that.
Wow, are you saying you don't have hubris? That's crazy.
Yeah, what the hell?
Oh, dude, I go make mistakes all the time. Look at my
but
my 800,000 of dead words over here.
Oh yeah, Andy, you missed it. We were comparing who's had to throw out the most words, and Michael Chatfield wins with 800,000.
Jesus.
That's
That's like 2 dark blades.
Yeah.
That's like 2 dark blades.
I cannot imagine that many bad words or like words that serve no purpose. That is inconceivable.
Let's not dwell on this more because it hurts already. But sorry, you're talking about other things. But yeah, sorry, it's really interesting, Andy, because you're going from a comic book to a novelization, which is like in my brain is always the other way around.
Yeah. So for this one, I'm lucky enough that I get to play prequel more. So like the first 2 books are prequel setting up. So a comic book has 24 pages to an issue, and you do all the cool things nonstop, start to finish, right? And that's it. There's no real story beyond the immediate. A little bit of backstory, just enough sprinkled in. But then to do the comic, the novelization, you have to have an actual story. There has to be all the stuff explored. So it was really fun in that I had sort of the guidelines of the different scenes that were hinted at, but then all I had to do was just make those sort of central to the character's progression, their arc, and then I could kind of do the rest of it the way that I wanted to. And where the 3rd book is going to be is the first comic book, like the first 3 issues together. So there will be a lot more strict codification of what I need to write, but there is room to play around inside it. I got super lucky that the comic book creators aren't like, oh, it has to be done very, very specific. They're like, here's the tone of what we want. And I pitched them some ideas, and the original idea that I pitched, they were like, oh, this is super wrong, because there was stuff that I didn't know about until I read later issues of the graphic novel, and I understood where the story was going. And so then switching it, changing up the story, it made something a whole lot more in line with what they're doing. And so we'll see how it goes. It's not going to come out probably for another year or so, but the first book is written and edited. The second book is with the editor, and I have gotten to do the most ridiculous things of any book that I've ever, and that was the order of the day, is just do the ridiculous thing, because the comic book is so silly in that kind of fun way. So like I got to do a hybrid, a giant troll griffin hybrid. Makes no sense just right off the bat, but nice. His name is Bodice Ripper, and he writes erotic novels under his real name. This is just like a random one-off thing that I was like, this is so much fun. And then it becomes this whole through line through the story, and now this novel, like in the second book, the character is having relationship issues, and she thinks about one of the novels written by this Bodice Ripper thing, and like takes real value from it, and like it helps with the relationship. It's just like, you get to do stupid things in a world where obviously you want high drama, you want tons of action, but also it's just dumb. You can get away with it. It's been a lot of fun.
You know what though? God. Like the brevity of like having a character that does something that's just like not what you would expect, it helps out so much.
Yeah.
Like, like it having that comedic element where it like throws you off. Like I was just reading Seth's book, because one of them.
You're gonna have to be more specific. Yeah.
He has a few.
Flying pig.
His new one, right? The body cultivator one. Yeah.
Yes. Body cultivator in a mage world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like reading it, and I was like, oh, the pig is the funny thing where it's like, oh yeah, like it's just a dude with like a pocket pig just being like walking around, and it's got wings and stuff and flies around, and you're like, yeah, that's kind of cute and fun. But it adds such a levity to things, because it's like, oh, this is not what you would expect in this kind of story, but it changes the tone in such a way which allows you to do serious things and not serious things, and like jump in between. Whereas some stories, like, they can't have that thing because of the tone, right? Yeah. The tonality of it has to be pretty strict. Yeah. It's the way we view stories is so curious to me.
Also, Andy, that's a perfect character for you. But also, I do think it is fascinating how the comedic relief becomes like something you can't get rid of in a lot of these stories. One of the jokes, you've now read Cold Wind, which has a guy named Brianus in it, which is me getting back at Brian Norden for naming me in Quest Academy and making me a dork. And I wrote him in just to be like a little like fop, right? Just like this like super annoying politician who popped in and out. And he has somehow become integral to the story.
Oh my God.
But when I inserted him, I was just like, I'm gonna get you back, Brian.
Yeah.
And then like he has just wormed his way into being a main like important thing. And it was so annoying to me as it was happening because I was like, well, I guess Brian's just here now.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
It always happens like that. So in the novelization, I wrote this character who this kid, his entire purpose is to hold his captain's cape and flap it to make it look like real heroic in battle, right?
Excellent.
Just a throwaway character. And then before you know it, he's like the central emotional arc to the character that is just like, oh my God, there's so much impact there. And this is where Dungeon Crawler Carl is kind of a very good guide for this kind of thing. Matt Dinneman does the most absurd and ridiculous thing, but then he commits to the bit and he makes it work to where it is a thing that makes you feel. And so all of a sudden the absurd becomes important, and it kind of it doesn't diminish the absurdity, but it makes it so much more palatable that you actually look forward to the next ridiculous thing he's going to do, because he's made you care about so many ridiculous things in the past. And it creates this whole sense of excitement of what next. It's this unpredictability that makes the story so much more fun than something that is sort of your classic fantasy or sci-fi or even progression fantasy lit RPG that's just got kind of a sort of a straight tone to it.
I mean, you do have a point there. Go ahead, Michael, and then I'll say.
No, I was just agreeing. You're good.
His only point was,
Yeah, okay, got it. No, I was going to say that sometimes is something I really like about reading sometimes extremely old fantasy, like 1920s, 1930s, because that was pre-rules. That's straight up acid trip on the side of a van territory right there, and anything could happen.
Yes.
And like, after reading so much of post-Tolkienian fantasy for like the past 30, nearly 40 years, I've come to see the lines. I can see the seams. I can see where things are going. So to find stuff like, as you're saying, with Matt, where he does things that seem absurd, but he just does them. He leans into them. It's that surprise. And one thing I really love about Matt's writing is that he does it with sincerity, like Douglas Adams style, where he will do, Douglas Adams will do the most ridiculous thing and do it with a straight face, where I find often where the absurd fails, at least for me, is when the author is winking at the camera. They're like so self-conscious of the fact that it's absurd that they want to save face. And you just got to tilt at that windmill. You got to go for it if you're going to go there. Yeah.
I also think of Pratchett.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Mort, where Death decides to get an intern because he's tired of doing all the work. And that's like one of my favorite standalones of just this like poor loser kid who gets sent to his village job fair because his family's sick of him not being able to get a job, and no one will hire him until Death comes through and is like, I'm looking for an intern. And then, the world almost gets destroyed because the intern does a bad job. But it the whole way through, it's like, okay, if this happens, then you have to, the next question is, then what happens, right? Like, what does that mean? And when you do that, you can really take absurd to phenomenal places.
Yes, absolutely.
Coming from science fiction, that is one of the biggest questions. It's the what if. And I think sometimes with the stories, and especially with discovery writing or Panster, is what if. You go, what if these people met this world in this situation? Is usually the parameters, right? But it can also be like bromance, boy meets girl, or all configurations of all of this. It's like, that is so interesting of this story of, it's the possibilities of these things coming together which create a story, and then it's the tangent that we take them on. And that is really fun. And I think that for a lot of authors, this book was really good and they went on this tangent. Okay, could we just do 5 degrees to the left and then go on this one? I think that is actually a key point that makes so many people cross from reader to writer. Because they go, I really want to read this story that was hinted at and in this way. and that's just because and I think it's
100%.
an appreciation of the book and then just a little direction different.
Yeah, 10,000%.
And I think this is where kind of circling back to what you were saying there. I think when I find a story that I think, oh, I could never have written this and I loved it so much, it's because I could not have put those pieces together. Kings of the Wild is the spectacular example of this. Monster hunting, rock bands. How many of us have the brain to do that? We can sort of bang coconuts together and come up with something cool. But the very specific way that Nikki banged those two coconuts together and we get this, already that setup is so cool. But then the story that it's like, all right, here is this new idea, and I'm going to keep hitting you with new idea after new idea after new idea, and it keeps getting bigger and better because you can have stories that are really, really cool. And I'm going to give you an example of this, and it is the Greenbone Saga. The whole framing of the Greenbone Saga was really, really cool and unique, and nobody else really thought of that. The story itself was not particularly unpredictable. So you have a really cool setting and a solid story. Whereas Kings of the Wild or Dungeon Crawler Carl, it's a very specific, two coconuts have been banged together, but then it's like, you think it's this, and then it's here. And then, oh, you think it's, and they keep just kind of taking you in a different direction. And it's like, okay, these just keep being cooler and cooler and cooler. Empire of the Wolf is another one that I'll hold up as that. Just the idea of the traveling magistrates is not totally new. Traveling magistrates with necromancers, two coconuts banging together, oh, so cool. And then, oh, we're not actually having a sword fight as the resolution. It's a trial. We're doing, like, they keep doing interesting things and keep being unpredictable. And these are the books, at least for me as a reader, I say, I wish I could do that. And so when I sit down to write, I'm like, how can I bang together coconuts that nobody else could bang together?
Mm-hmm.
There, somebody was telling me, and I hope I'm attributing this correctly, but I believe that they got some writing advice from Evan Winters, who writes The Rage of Dragons, and which is a phenomenal book that I love. But he said what they told me he told them was that his writing advice is his style is that he never takes his first idea, because that's the one that like is the most likely that most people will be like, that's what I would expect to happen. So when he gets to a fork in the road, he often disqualifies the first option he comes up with as being the predictable one. And so it's like literally he works down a list of like, okay, I'm taking my fourth idea because now that I've sat here, somebody who's just like riding the ride is going to be like, whoa, that wasn't the turn I was expecting to take. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. Like I think about it now when I'm coming to forks in the road, because I'm like, that's easy. And then I'll be like, well, if it was easy for me, it's probably easy for everybody else. So how do I like subvert that or catch people off guard on that?
Yeah.
I think that another thing that I always kind of take into account is it's Quentin Tarantino's piece of advice, which is cut off your beginning and cut off your ending. Because usually you spend too much time setting things up and too much time closing things down. I was talking to an author, and he gave me a book to read and beta read, and I was like, lose the first 20%. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, I can give you a paragraph and you can get all of that 20% done in that paragraph. He's like, but it's going to be so much of a shorter book. I'm like, yeah, but like it gets you right into the action. And I think like it is really interesting of how much content you can put into a book, one, and also how little you can do in a book and still make it incredibly rewarding. I was reading a book and essentially 3 things happened. And I was like, I would 100% go read the next book. And then I read another book and like 20 things happened. And I'm like, I would 100% go read the next book. So I'm like, it's interesting of like, there's so many different varieties of how you can cut this cake.
Yeah.
It's very true. JM and Andy, thank you guys so much for joining us for our sort of surprise round table. We pitched this as 2 individual episodes, but you know what? This was more fun, so I'm not mad about it. Can you tell everybody where they can find you, what you guys are working on, so that everybody knows where to find you?
Go for Justin.
Okay, so you can find Runeseeker, which is being put out in all the retail stores, in Barnes & Noble, in independent bookstores, in Indigo, maybe Waterstones, Waterstones, and yep. You just got to make sure.
Live, everyone.
Yeah,
wait, this is amazing information for me too, because I'm continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find Runeseeker there. It's written by myself and my wonderful co-writer Carter J. Thompson. You can also find Mark of the Fool, which is my other series, as well as Oaths, Blood, and Coin on Amazon. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram under JM Clark. And I am one day going to get a website up, and that will be jmclarkauthor.com. But yes, it's on my to-do list, I swear.
Yeah, like sleeping and eating should be before that.
I like the optimism. That's good. I'm here for that.
One day it shall be here. It shall be created.
It shall be created.
Very cool. And all my books are on Amazon, on Audible, on my website, andypeliquin.com. There's, I'm going to say 45 of them, so I don't have to count again until I hit 50. More coming, some really cool stuff coming in the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
That I can't say more about yet, but all will be revealed in good time. So crazy and enigmatic. I feel very cool.
Apparently, a lit RPG from his phone, so look out for that one.
It's like, that's why I was like asking you. I was like, so Andy, what are you working on? Because I know you've got like so many projects cooking in the background, and I'm like, I don't know which ones you can talk about.
I don't know either. So I'm starting on I'm starting on either a co-write next or on a novel to pitch to agents. And that's on top of the stuff that's already written, which is the Secret Trilogy, and then, Darkblade 11, which comes out in May. So, and then a bunch of anthologies that are very, very cool, which have not yet formally been announced, so I can't talk about those either. So Darkblade 11, that's the book.
I just love the alluding that is going on. So there's a whole bunch of these things.
We're doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm writing words like lots of them.
That is the hope and aim of this entire job.
I love this. By the way, this is amazing.
But no, thank you both for coming along, and thank you for jumping right in. I know it. Andy jumped on, and he was like, "Oh, well, let's just have a chat." Yeah. But that is kind of the thing that we want to show people here. Hey, this is the behind the scenes. But thank you both. Last question for you is, because we haven't named this thing.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think that we should name this podcast?
Rails.
Pretty good.
I can't follow that up.
It's not properly branded for writing, but it could work.
Outline off script.
There you go. In the margins, maybe? Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fix it in editing.
Fixed in editing. There we go. There it is.
Third draft.
Third draft
with drinks, probably. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I swear I'm good at this, Mom.
Or no outline necessary.
Oh yeah. There you go. That's actually maybe the best suggestions we've gotten yet.
100%.
What was Brian's suggestion?
Ian just got mad at us for being authors who had not named our podcast.
Yeah.
That's very Brian.
Yeah.
100% Brian.
That we wouldn't do that. And then I was like, how's your blurbs going? And he's like,
Yeah. I think this was also right after he had just finished the draft. So I was like, well, how many chapters have you been writing lately? And Brian was like, shut up.
Amazing.
But yeah, thank you guys for hopping on. Jam, I'm sorry I was late. I don't know what happened, but
Okay. That's okay, man. That's okay.